Week 3 is live, Brant. This time next week, we'll be getting ready to sit down and watch a football game at this time, so we might have to come back a little earlier next week, Brant. This week, we've got no early games, but we've got a full slate again. It's great to be here for Week 3, Brant. How you feeling?
It's a good week. It's a good week for football. Week 3. I know there's some games on the schedule that are not too enticing, but it's definitely going to be a good week. Hopefully, we get to see some of these players that missed some time get their footing back underneath them, and everything else. So it should be a good week of football here for Week 3.
Well, any week that there's football, Brand, is a good week, even if they're bad matchups. You know, I Thursday night's football game looked ugly as all get out on the schedule with the Saquon Barkley injury, how bad the Giants' offenses looked, and I still couldn't look away. It was like a train wreck. I couldn't tune out that game. I ended up watching it all day and having to, put some plays in and stuff on underdog just to find myself a little bit more interested. So it's a good week nonetheless. So let's talk about this noon slate, Brant. What game are you really interested in this noon slate?
Well, I talked about your game earlier this week. I'm going to talk about the Giants in New England, or the Jets in New England. Sorry. I think this game could be a good one. The Jets haven't won there in a long time. They were talking about that this morning on Good Morning Football or the game day about how the Jets haven't won there for a while. I think it should be a good matchup. The Jets defense has really improved. I think this could end up being a defensive stalemate. I know we've seen Zach Wilson play way down at times. So I really do. I like this conference matchup or divisional matchup. I think this game could be really, really interesting this week.
Okay. I had also talked about the Chargers in Minnesota on our cast last week, Brent, but I'm actually looking forward to this New Orleans at Green Bay game. I'm really interested to see what Jordan Love looks like with a full cast of characters. Looks like Aaron Jones is going to be a good to go player this week. Christian Watson should be good for the first time this season. So I'm really interested to see what Jordan Love can look like with a full roster of talent around him on offense. And then on the other side on New Orleans, it's the last week before we get Alvin Kamara back. Kendre Miller is going to play this week, I think, for the first time. So it'll be interesting to see what the rookie looks like there. Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, and Carr have all had really good connections. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in that contest, Brant.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Kendre Miller looks. Like you said, it's his first time he's actually getting a start with Jamal Williams going to the IR. So that's very interesting to see what is the backup in New Orleans really going to look like once Kamara comes back. And then you got to take a few weeks, let Kamara get his legs underneath him and get ready to go. So it'll be really interesting to see how this New Orleans team really looks this week and next week. The next 2 weeks are going to be kind of tall tale sides for them.
Yeah, I think you get a lot of answers about the actual talent of the NFC South in the next couple of weeks. We've got three undefeated teams in the division. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like 2 weeks from now. All right, Brent, we got our first question here. Tony says, assuming that St. Brown and Metcalf both play and the last update is they're both good to go, is that still the case? If so, I need help on the flex spot. PPR, Stevenson versus the Jets, Brian Robinson versus the Bills, Jordan Addison versus the Chargers, or Tutu Atwell versus the Bengals. So a lot to unpack here. But Brant, I believe our last update as well, we talked about this one right before we went live, is that yes, St. Brown and Metcalf are both expected to play. And you and I were both kind of talking about what our expectations were for those guys beforehand. So go ahead, Brant. I'll let you start us off with this one.
St. Brown's a guy that you drafted. You can't pull out of his lineup if he plays. I would be temper expectations with him. He's going to have a plate in his foot, it sounds like, last thing I read, which may limit his cutting ability and everything else. But you can't pull him out of his lineup, and that's the same with DK Metcalf. You just can't. I'm assuming they're both going to play. I have it listed as they're both, optimistic to play. But if I have to choose one of these guys down here in the flex, I'm getting Addison in my lineup one way or another against the Chargers. Highest point total on the week in Vegas. I'm getting Jordan Addison in my lineup over everyone else here. I absolutely love his matchup this week. I think this game, you could see almost 80 points hung in this game in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, all these flex options are really pretty viable. I like like Ramondre Stevenson against the Jets this week. Brian Robinson's one of my running back plays of the week. I really like what I'm seeing out of him so far this year. But Brant, you're 100% right. The implied point total in that Chargers and Vikings game shows that there's not going to be any defense on either side of the ball. Jordan Addison's a guy that I've got in several leagues, and he's not coming out of my lineups anywhere. That being said, I do think Jordan Addison is a high ceiling play. The floor still could be pretty unsafe due to the fact that KJ Osborne, TJ Hawkinson, and Justin Jefferson could all be the guy. So if you need a safety play, I do think it's Brian Robinson. If you're looking for that, it's Addison. Addison's got the highest ceiling out of all those guys this week, in my opinion. And again, to just further touch on it, Brant was 100% spot on with the St. Brown and Metcalf analysis. You don't take those guys out of your lineups if they're going. Oops, I clicked.
Kevin says, good morning, guys. Garrett Wilson, Michael Thomas, Jacoby Myers, weather in New York for Wilson, and going against Belichick. Let's see. New Orleans has Green Bay. I think I'd still leave Garrett Wilson in there. I think he's still going to be the target monster there in New York. I think I still leave him in. Jacoby's just now coming back. I know he saw a whole lot of targets and a whole lot of work whenever he played week one. But I think I'm not ready to pull Garrett Wilson out of my lineup for anybody else right now. So I think I'm going to leave Garrett in there.
This is probably a little closer for me than it should be between Garrett Wilson and Michael Thomas. Mainly because I still don't know if I truly trust Michael Thomas Brant, but he's looked good through 2 weeks. He's getting the targets, the volume's there. Whereas Garrett Wilson's kind of saved his season so far by having 2 touchdowns through 2 games. I'd be lying if I wasn't nervous about how little the targets are just because they're not throwing as much with Zach Wilson. So again, this one to me, just first of all, Brant, if you were the Green Bay Packers, are you putting Jair Alexander, are you putting him on Michael Thomas, or are you putting him on Chris Olave?
I think I'm keeping him on one side of the field to shut down one side of the field. I think that would be my best thing is to shut down that one side of the field. If he's going man to man and shadowing, I'm probably putting him on Olave just because I think he's the more the bigger threat to me than Michael Thomas is right now.
Okay, then I go Garrett Wilson. If there's any chance Garrett Wilson's going to be covered even half the day by Jair Alexander, I don't want that, so I'll go Garrett Wilson. All right, let's see. It says at this point we have to right outlook for Minshew this week. So Jumbo, the first part of that question is Brant, you're a Joe Burrow owner. Are you playing him in leagues where you own him?
The league that I own him, I do have the benefit of having Hurts also. And no, I wouldn't be playing Burrow this week. He's a Monday night game. He hasn't been good. The hamstring's been bothering him, and he's still questionable. We have no real update on him. I don't think I'm playing him, so I'm benching him. Yes, it's 100%. I think you have to bench him this week. Even if he goes out and drops 40, you have to know that you did the right thing because you had no idea if he's playing. He's the last game of the week, and we have no updates.
Yeah, I'm not waiting in for Joe Burrow in that game unless I happen to own Matthew Stafford as well. And even then, I'm not sure that makes me comfortable enough to go. So I think you sit Joe Burrow this week. He's not looked great. Obviously, we all expect that to get better at some point. But at this current moment and the current temperature where things sit right now, I think I do leave him on the bench. And then as far as part 2 of this question, the outlook on Minshew, Brant, I'm sure you've got to be jazzed up about this. But Gardner Minshew is going to play a pretty tough defense in the Baltimore Ravens this week. I can't say I have any extreme expectations. He did look good last week, but this is a different team this week. So They're relatively low. I'm not sure he's a viable starter. Pivot play to Joe Burrow, if that's what you're asking, Jimbo, just because of the simple fact that they do play the Baltimore Ravens defense.
Yeah, Minshew, you're talking about an average QB play at best this week. He's probably going to be safe, get you 15 points. He doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. He's got plenty of weapons there, and he does have the mobility upside. But my outlook on him this week is minimal. It's 15 points. I am jazzed up. I absolutely love Gardner Minshew. So I am jazzed up to watch him get a play, but I'm not looking for him to explode with some 40-point week and be everyone's fantasy savior this week. But I would temper expectations, probably about 15, maybe 18 points, depending on your scoring.
Okay. Moving right along, Kevin says James Conner or Miles Sanders. Brand, I feel like this is a pretty quick one here, but are you in agreement with me? Probably not starting running back against that Cowboys defense at the current moment, right?
Well, we'll talk about my feeling on Conner a little bit later here, but I am definitely starting Miles Sanders against the Seahawks. Seahawks are still struggling against the run in the middle of the field. So until that gets cleaned up, I'm very comfortable starting running back against the Seahawks. It's Miles Sanders over Conner. I know Conner's getting all the work and everything, but you got to start Miles Sanders. You cannot trust anybody against that Dallas defense, even with Diggs out. That just means the front's going to be putting more pressure on to make it a little easier on the back end.
Right. It's Miles Sanders, and it's got less to do for me, Brant, with your Seahawks defense as it does for the Dallas Cowboys defense there in that game against the Cardinals with James Conner. I just don't trust Arizona's offense right now. I know they've put points up. I know they've looked all right at this point. I just don't buy in. So for me, I'm out on the James Conner experience at this point, giving me Miles Sanders in that contest. All right, Mark says Drake London or Zay Flowers and half-point PPR, Brant. Again, I feel like this one should be obvious, but I don't think it is so much at this point.
I'm going Zay Flowers. I absolutely love OBJ being out. I'm going to go with Zay Flowers. He'll be the focal point of that receiving core. As much as that brings a tear to my eye because of how much I love Bateman, I have to go with Zay Flowers. Even with the weather that's going to be going on there, he's going to be the short pass guy. And this guy can take a screen pass to the house at any moment, regardless of the weather, I think. So as long as he's not slipping and sliding with that terrible weather, he absolutely is a start for me this week. That's another name I'll be talking about a little bit more later on too.
Yeah, Brant, for me on this one, it's the scariness of what Drake London are we going to get. If it's week 2 Drake London, I start Drake London without hesitation. If it's week 1 Drake London where he saw 1 target for 0 receptions, obviously that's a completely different story. I think Zay Flowers is the safer play out of these two right now, which is so odd to say with London's team snap share last season. But right now, I just don't know if I trust Desmond Ridder in the passing aspect. I do think if you're super nervous about the weather in that Baltimore contest, then obviously the Dome in Detroit's a little safer. So it just depends on where your head and your gut's at there. But I do think Zay Flowers is probably the safer option this week. All right. Jennifer says, hey guys, rough week. She's got first part of the question, Miller or Rashad White? I assume that's Kendre Miller, Brant. So do you take Kendre Miller or Rashad White to start that there?
The Bucks play. How am I just looking over this game? So
Philadelphia on Monday night.
Thank you. That's probably why, because I didn't leave Sunday. So Philly's rush defense has been so good. I think I'm gonna ride with Kendre Miller. I think I am. That Philly rush defense scares me. I think White's gonna have trouble. I'm benching him almost everywhere that I do own him. So I think I'm gonna go with Miller on this one. This is more of a gut play than stats behind it. My gut tells me Miller.
I go Rashad White here. He's getting plenty of passing work as well. So I'm not nervous about him, and I have no clue what Kendre Miller even is in a Saints offense. Rashid Shaheed's been seeing plenty of opportunity in that New Orleans backfield in the absence of Alvin Kamara. I'm hitching my wagon to Rashad White. Number 2, Brant, Tyler Algier or Jaylen Warren. I'm going to make this one really quick. I think it's Jaylen Warren in this one. He's been the more explosive back in the Pittsburgh offense. They came out, it was reported this morning they want to get him more involved in Pittsburgh. And Tyler Algier was really nice week 1, a little slower last week. I think it's going to continue to be the Bijan Robinson show in Detroit or in Atlanta at Detroit to this week. And I do believe Cordero Patterson's actually making his season debut this week as well. So I think that's even less Algier. So I do go Jaylen Warren on that one.
I'm going Jaylen Warren as well. The matchup is too tasty with going against the Raiders as well. Najee has not looked good at all. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Jaylen Warren. I think this is going to be a run fest game. I think it's a get right game for Jacobs, and I think that the Steelers are going to really lean on their running backs this week. And I really do like Jaylen Warren and his explosiveness this week.
Okay. And then last but not least, Brant, Addison versus Jacoby Myers. I'm going Jordan Addison.
Addison, absolutely. I'm getting him in my lineup anywhere I can this week.
Okay. Moving on here. Patrick says, half point PPR, pick 1, James Conner versus Dallas, Aaron Jones versus New Orleans, or Gus Edwards versus Indy.
If Jones goes, I'm playing Jones. I'm not starting Conner anywhere. That's the focal point of their offense. So guess what? That's where Dallas is going to focus in on. So I'm not starting James Conner anywhere. If Jones goes, I'm starting Jones. If not, I'm going with Gus Edwards. I think that with Justice Hill being out, J.K. Dobbins being hurt, they're calling up Melvin Gordon, I think, from the practice squad this week. I think this is the Gus Edwards show. So if Jones is a no-go, I think I'm going with Gus Edwards.
Yeah, Justice Hill isn't playing this week, so that should leave a full slant of work for Gus Edwards. I actually do think I go Gus Edwards over Aaron Jones just because of the simple fact that Jones is coming back from an injury. Man, that's close. I do lean Gus Edwards. I think New Orleans front 7 is going to be tough. So give me Gus Edwards there. Brant, I'm never going to miss an opportunity for you to say hi to Pops. So there you go. You got Pops chiming in this morning.
Good morning, Pops, and good morning, Uncle John from Italy. Got a little international view going on. So I just want to say good morning to y'all.
It's probably like afternoon over in Italy, though, isn't it?
Probably. I don't know the time difference. Maybe John will chime in and let us know.
All right, here's one of my favorite ones I've seen so far this morning. DJ says, Jerry Jeudy or Adam Thielen?
This shouldn't be a question.
It shouldn't be, but Thielen's coming off of a really good week last week in Carolina, and he's got. But again, it's your secondary and it's Andy Dalton, so that changes things. And then Jerry Jeudy with that new look, like Denver offense, that's actually clicking pretty well at this point. Where's your head at on these two?
Oh man, so this one's tough. I actually lean Thielen, and the reason I lean Thielen is it sounds like Tariq Woolen's going to be out, Kobe Bryant's going to be out. We're going to have Witherspoon as our number 1 corner, and then Trey Brown's going to be thrown in there, which he's wishy-washy back there. I actually think I lean Thielen. I think that's who's going to be the guy that's going to have to move the ball for them with the receiving core, him and Hurst. So I actually think I lean Thielen on this one.
Yeah, I do too, Brant, and it's not because I don't like Jerry Jeudy. I just don't know if I like Jerry Jeudy this week. The Denver offense, how long do I put trust in Russ? I don't know. It scares me. Whereas I trust Adam Thielen more so than I do anything else. His route running is so good, and I think it'll be a good learning experience for Witherspoon moving forward to cover a guy like Adam Thielen. He's going to get one of the shiftier wide receivers in football, and he's going to learn some stuff this week. But I do think it's Thielen, just because I expect to see him get 6 or 7 targets. I think that's basically where my pick lies here. Brant, go ahead if you want to take this one.
Good morning. Lots of questions this morning. Let's just start with the first one. Najee or Swift? PPR. I think I have to go Swift. Swift's coming off an amazing week. They got a little bit longer rest time too. I know that Gainwell's back, but I think I still have to lean Swift on this one. Najee is a guy that he just scares me. I understand the matchups is great, but this is a chance for Najee to get right. And if he doesn't get right, I don't know if he ever gets full control of that backfield again. And until he gets right, I'm going to try to pivot off them, and I think Najee's a good pivot.
Swift, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, Swift. Yes.
Yeah, I'm also going Swift, coming off of a monster week, whereas Najee's done little to nothing all season. So yeah, I'm going to ride the hot hand out of those two, Brant.
Okay. Next one is McLaurin, Judy, Dobbs, or Christian Watson. I'm going to leave this one for you to start with because you are more in tune with that Green Bay wide receiving core than I am. So I'll leave this one up to you to start with.
Yeah. So to start the season, Brant, I said Christian Watson would not lead the team in targets, but he would lead the Green Bay team in yards and touchdowns. I still think that's the case. I watched that Falcons Green Bay game last week. You could tell they were missing a deep threat. So I do actually roll Christian Watson out of these guys here. McLaurin could be interesting, but Buffalo's offense hasn't been making games a shootout. So, and that run game in Washington's so good. I do go Christian Watson out of those four.
I think I do go Watson too. The reason I'm shining off of McLaurin is the weather there could really affect it. And like you said, with the weather there in Washington, you're talking of a ground and pound game going on. So I think I do lean with Watson if he plays. Number 3 is Najee, Miles Sanders, or Javonte Williams. I really, really want to tell you to roll Javonte out. I really, really want to, but I think I have to lean Miles Sanders on this one.
Yeah, it's Miles Sanders. It's Miles Sanders for sure. Dalton's coming in as the backup. I know he's the wily old vet, but he is old, right? And Carolina's offensive line has been subpar at this point, so I expect there'll be some dump-off work for Sanders as well. I expect him to have a lot of volume in that game.
Hopkins or Nico Collins? I'm rolling Nico Collins. After you talked about him, Finley, I went back and I looked at that Houston Texans and I looked at CJ Stroud's stats, and I'm rolling with Nico Collins right now, and I'm rolling very, very comfortable with having him in my lineup.
Yeah, it's Nico Collins here. I'm not questioning that offense anymore. Houston's on the upswing offensively. All 3 of their wideouts are fantasy relevant right now, and CJ Stroud's putting up good numbers. I'm going Nico Collins.
Not to mention that game could turn into a shootout going there and playing Jacksonville.
Absolutely.
Tua or Cousins? I'm rolling with Cousins. Until Cousins can't put up those points like he has been, I'm rolling with Cousins in the highest point total of the week in a shootout game where both teams are hanging all these points and not turning the ball over. Give me Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, Cousins, and I'm going to tie that into the next one. Give me Jordan Addison over Drake London.
Give me Jordan Addison over Drake London. That one was, if you got an Addison question there, it's going to be really hard for me to tell you to pull him out of his lineup. I absolutely love Addison this week. I believe that's both of our stacks on FanDuel that we talked about on our Wednesday cast.
All 3 of us. Patrick had him as well. Josh says start Carr or Minshew. Again, Brant, you got to be in hog heaven. Minshew mania. It's Jort season. However, I'm starting Carr.
I'm starting Carr too. Like I said, Minshew will give you probably a subpar game, average QB game. So I'm going to start Carr. I think that's got the better upside.
All right, moving right along here. Kyle Pitts or Hunter Henry, Brant?
I think I roll with Hunter Henry. He's tight end 2 on the year. He's the focal point of that passing game. I know the weather it may cause an issue up there, but I think I'm rolling with Hunter Henry. As much as I like Pitts this week and I expect a breakout game for Pitts, I have to roll Hunter Henry. That's the safest target for me right now.
Yeah, there's just not enough passing volume in Atlanta at this point. Again, Brant, that pains me to say, but I don't trust Desmond Ridder. I like what I'm seeing as a Falcons fan. But as a fantasy guy, I'm not loving what I'm seeing out of Ritter so far. All right, Kevin says, what's your opinion on James Conner? Because I just traded him away. I traded away Mike Evans and James Conner for Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, and Hollywood Brown. Did I win this trade? So Brant, let me first ask, are you at all nervous about Cooper Kupp when he comes back with what Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua are doing in that offense right now? Is there still going to be a big enough piece of the pie for Cooper Kupp to come back and be a stud when he gets back?
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I think there is. I think Cooper Kupp will be just fine when he comes back. He'll come back in his role. He's Stafford's best friend. I think Cooper Kupp will be just fine when he comes back.
Okay, so what's your opinion on the entire trade then?
Hollywood Brown's the biggest piece that scares me in that trade. I absolutely love Chris Godwin going forward. I think this is a breakout week for Chris Godwin. I like I like Kupp and Godwin a lot. Hollywood Brown scares me, but I think you won the trade. I do. James Cook, eventually Arizona is going to come back down to reality. I know they've been staying in games. That can't last, and I think it turns around now, because if James Cook's the only one moving the ball that well on that offense, then it has to come back down to reality.
Okay. All right. Next question. Dale says, Zach Moss or Dameon Pierce? Is this the week you're ready to punch your ticket and get on the Dameon Pierce train, Brant?
No, I'll take Zach Moss. The receiving core in Houston, I'll take all day. The running core, no, thank you.
Here's what's making me nervous a little bit, Brant, is I actually, which I think this will be a little bit shocking to you, I actually looked at potentially acquiring Dameon Pierce over this week in a trade. Here's what's got me nervous. He hasn't seen 50% of the snaps in either of the two games yet this year. So that makes me nervous. Whereas I think Zach Moss is going to see a very healthy snap percentage there against the Baltimore Ravens. I just can't get on board with Dameon Pierce. I feel like I've hated on him all offseason. I can't stop now. So yeah, I go Zach Moss here. Who'd have thunk, that I'd ever pick Zach Moss over Dameon Pierce, but here we are with me picking Zach Moss over Dameon Pierce, Brant. Oh, Kevin's sending us a follow-up, I believe, to his trade. Yeah, you won the trade, Kevin. This is a pretty good running back room moving forward in fantasy.
Absolutely.
All right. Jordan says, flex position in full point PPR league, Gabe Davis, Drake London, Kenneth Gainwell, or Breece Hall, Brant?
I'm going with Breece Hall. He vented his frustration last week with the 4 footballs on his X or Twitter or whatever it's called now. I believe that they're going to try to get him the ball and feed him the ball a lot. So I'm actually going to go with Breece Hall.
This is the one where I think I might slightly lean Drake London. It's Drake London or Breece Hall for me in this one. But the weather in New York should lend itself to a healthy dose of run. Is Breece Hall going to get his 10 carries? If he gets 10 carries, I love him this week. Safety play, give me Breece Hall. Ceiling play, give me Drake London. If I had to pick, somebody's life on the line, I guess I pick Breece Hall. But that one's close for me. All right, Brant, you want to take John's question here?
John asked tight end, Laporta or Hill? I'm starting Laporta. Laporta's one guy that it's not coming out of my lineup until bye week or until something changes. He has been on the field, I believe it was over 80% of the snaps since week 1. He's the tight end 1 there in Detroit. I absolutely love Sam Laporta moving forward and this week.
Okay, yeah, I also Taysom Hill is as gimmicky as he is, he's going to have some weeks where it's going to be really good, but it's also going to have some bad weeks. I go Laporta as well here. The chemistry looks fine between him and Goff, especially with a banged up St. Brown. This could be a really good week for Sam Laporta. Matt says, good morning, gentlemen. I need some help at flex. Alexander Madison, Javonte Williams, Michael Pittman, or Gabe Davis. I'm worried about Addison with the addition of Cam Akers.
Akers is not a go this week, so you shouldn't have to worry too much about Madison this week. Moving forward, you will have to worry about it, but it sounds like Akers will not be playing this week. Let's see, at flex. Roll Javonte. Oh, man. I really want to tell you guys to roll Javonte Williams. I really like his outlook this week. Safety-wise, I honestly think I'd go with Pittman. The secondary in Baltimore has been banged up a little bit, and Minshew does like to move the ball down the field through the air. So I actually think Pittman's a good play this week.
I think Alexander Madison has a sneaky good week this week, Brant. I think he's going to come out and he's going to want to prove people that he's the guy. He's going to want to put no doubt in anybody's mind going into next week where Cam Akers will be a go. Kevin O'Connell did come out and say it wouldn't be fair for him to expect Akers to play this week. So Akers is out. I do think I roll Alexander Madison this week. I give it one last chance. It's only been 2 weeks. I know it's not looked good, but it's really early in the season to write somebody off. If Dalvin Cook was still in that offense and he did what Alexander Madison did the first 2 weeks, I don't think we'd be sitting here doubting him as hard. And I understand that it's not Dalvin Cook, it is Alexander Madison. But Madison's shown plenty of spark and plenty of explosiveness in the past. This is a guy that could take a screenplay 90 yards to the house and score. I do think I'd go Alexander Madison one more time this week. I still don't trust Javonte coming back off injury. Michael Pittman should be a safe play, but again, against the Ravens, that defense scares me. And Gabe Davis is the biggest boomer bust play we've ever seen in fantasy football history, I believe. So I'm going Alexander Madison here. Johns follows up and says Tutu or Mike Thomas, full point PPR, Brant.
I'm going to roll with Michael Thomas here. Like I said, I think that Olave gets shadowed, so I think I'm going to roll with Michael Thomas over Tutu. Tutu's actually had a struggle to stay on the field. He's had 50% or less of snaps. I know he's had the target share there, but I think I still roll with Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I'm going Michael Thomas here as well. The bottom's got to fall out on one of these Rams wide receivers at some point. I can't. I can't go in this. I'm going Michael Thomas. Paul's got a DFS question for us here. Brandon says, morning, splitting hairs in a DFS play of Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson. He says he can't afford both of them.
You can't go wrong with either of them. I think I'm actually going to go with Gibbs. I'll save the little bit, and DFS, I think I'll save the little bit because I think Gibbs has really nothing that scares me. I know they're saying that Craig Reynolds will split the carries, but I think I go with Gibbs and save the little bit of change to DFS and try to upgrade somewhere else.
Yeah, Bijan's slowly becoming one of the most expensive pieces in DFS play, and it's for good reason. He's only got one touchdown on the season. That goes up today. I go Bijan Robinson here. Kevin says, Miles Sanders or DeAndre Swift, Brant, where are you at here?
Miles Sanders. Swift's going to have Gainwell back. I know Boston Scott's out. But, I think I still go with Miles Sanders here. I know Swift's coming off a good week, but we saw it was Gainwell's show when he was healthy. So this could be a 50-50 split. Miles Sanders has nothing that scares me behind it. Chuba is getting there to spill the work, but not enough to scare me off. So I'm going to take Miles Sanders against the Seahawks.
Yeah, it's probably Miles Sanders here just because, Gainwell looked so good week one and then Swift looked even better last week. I still think both those guys get involved. Chuba Hubbard's really not a huge threat at this point, so I do go Miles Sanders as well. And then sticking with Miles Sanders, Brant, do you prefer Miles Sanders or Zach Moss in a standard scoring league?
I think I go with Sanders. Standard scoring, I think I go with Sanders. I think they're going to want to run the ball there up in Seattle. It's going to be rainy. So I think I go with Sanders. I think he has the better opportunity to find the end zone. I think I go with Sanders.
Yeah, it's Sanders. Go ahead. It's Sanders for me as well, Brant. It just based on the fact that I'd rather start a running back against your Seahawks defense than the Baltimore Ravens defense. I think that's the one difference for me. Is just waiting to see who stops the run better, basically. Jumbo comes back at us and says Nico is a buy everywhere. I love Nico Collins right now this season. I totally agree. I definitely didn't see CJ Stroud being the better passing quarterback between him and Bryce Young. But so far, he's the best rookie passer. And Houston pass catchers, especially Nico, are immensely valuable right now. Joe Def says, pick 2, PPR flex and super flex, Brant. Justin Fields, DK Metcalf, Brian Robinson Jr., Alexander Madison, Michael Thomas, Greg Reynolds, or DeAndre Swift. Which 2 are you picking?
Taking Justin Fields. I think he gets right. I know we had a lot of issues with the Bears front office and the words of against the coaching staff and everything, but they're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. I think you're going to see him run a lot more this week. I absolutely love Fields this week. And the safest play out of the other 2, as much as it pains me, I want to say Metcalf, but I can't. It's got to be Brian Robinson. He's going to get the work. He's going to get fed. So I think I'm going to go with Brian Robinson and Justin Fields here.
I think I'll go ahead and just agree with you here, Brant. And Superflex, I don't think you can take Justin Fields out just because that rushing upside does exist. And they're with him throwing passes, there still is always a chance he gets one into the end zone with a wide receiver. So I do think I still start him in super flexes everywhere I can. And then really it comes down to DK Metcalf and Brian Robinson for me. But Brian Robinson's been so hot through 2 weeks, and I look for that to continue. So I do think I go Justin Fields for the upside, Brian Robinson for the safety there in that one. Brant, go ahead and take Jennifer here.
Jennifer asked Darnell Mooney, Brandon Cooks, or Rashid Shaheed in Flex PPR. Yeah, and you always give me the rough names just so you get yourself a little giggle on Sunday mornings.
Intentional, yes.
I think I go with Shaheed, actually. I like what he's been doing there in New Orleans, so I think I actually go with Shaheed.
Yeah, no Jamal Williams. You've got Kendre Miller coming back off of an injury. We still don't know what we have in him. I go Shaheed just because of all that action he's getting out of the backfield. He's going to get plenty of volume. I go Shaheed. Amy says, if you had to start a Steelers running back, which one are you going with? Do you think Jaylen Warren is taking over? So I will say this. I think it's pretty early in the season to say that Jaylen Warren is going to take over. He's been more explosive, but they've also played 2 really good run defenses so far with the Steelers. And Jaylen Warren, if you go back and watch the tape, he gets the ball in space, which I know is great for fantasy. But I'm talking it's 3rd down and 15. He's running out to the flats. The defenders are playing the sticks. He's getting 12 yards receptions, whereas Najee's getting run up the gut. So I think it's a little bit of play calling with Matt Canada. I think that's some issues in lie there. But if I had to start one right now, it is Jaylen Warren. I do think at the end of the season, Najee ends up still being okay. Like I said, they've played 2 of the better run defenses in football to this point of the season. And if you look at their offense from top to bottom, Brant, it's not good anywhere just because of the simple fact you've got to establish a run to help a young quarterback like Kenny Pickett out. So I do think that is a priority for the Steelers team. It just hasn't happened yet. I think it will at some point.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you there. I think Warren's the start right now because he has looked explosive. But eventually Najee, I think, will get his legs underneath him and get that run game going. The team's still young. The offensive line's still gelling together. I think eventually it's going to click and Najee will be fine. But as of right now, I am starting Warren.
Okay. I think we'll both be in agreement on this one as well, Brant. Justin says Christian Kirk or Zay Flowers in PPR.
Zay Flowers. I absolutely love him this week, so Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I agree. It's Zay Flowers for me. All right, Brant, you want to go ahead and take Richard here since he's talking about one of your fellas?
Richard says Love or Geno Smith. I go Jordan Love. I know he didn't have the fantastic numbers last week, but he still found the end zone 3 times. I think I actually roll with Jordan Love this week. I think that this game could end up being a little back and forth. So I think I actually roll with Love this week.
I'm going Geno Smith. I think Geno comes out and plays really well in front of the 12. This week. There's been questions about him this year. People are doubting him again. I think he comes back out with a performance much like last year and silences the haters. Brand. I'm calling 3 touchdowns for Geno Smith today. Richard follows this up. Says, "Good morning, Miles Sanders or Dylan if Aaron Jones is out." This is Miles Sanders for me. Brant, do you feel differently on that?
No, I'm in the same boat. Miles Sanders for me. Dylan has not looked that good this year, so I think I'm rolling with Miles Sanders.
Okay. Trey says, Geno, Burrow, Stafford, or Wilson this week. Do I trust Burrow to bounce back? What do you think, Brant? You trust in Burrow?
I'm not trusting Burrow. We went over this a little while ago. I don't think Burrow, he doesn't need to play. He has not looked good. So I'm not trusting Burrow. You do have the nice pivot with Stafford. I actually think I go. Russell's got Miami. Give me Russell Wilson in Miami. I think he has to. I think he's going to have to throw the ball to try to keep up that offense. So give me Russell Wilson in Miami. God, I hate picking Russell to start over Geno anywhere.
Yeah, for me, it's between Geno and Stafford, excuse me. I do think Stafford's a fun play Monday night. It gives you that little bit of hope to cling to. You got your quarterback going last game of the week for all the marbles and fantasy. That's always very intriguing because no matter what happens, you've got a chance. But I do think I like Geno this week, Brant. I think he's, like I said, I think he has 3 touchdown tosses. So I go Geno, actually.
Okay.
Jason says PPR Pacheco or Kendre Miller, and then pick 2 between Tank Dell, Hopkins, Brown, and Sutton. Pacheco's coming off of an injury, or was questionable, I guess, all week with an injury, but is going to be a go. Kendre Miller again is coming back off of injury. Brant, where do you go between those 2?
I'm going with Pacheco. The Bears' rush defense is atrocious. Give me Pacheco. I think Pacheco has a breakout week and really solidifies himself as the RB1-ish in Kansas City because you never see him roll with just one. So I think I actually go with Pacheco here.
Yeah, it's Pacheco for me as well, Brant. I want to see what happens with Kendre Miller first, and kind of like you alluded to, I could see the Chiefs being up early and salting the game away with Pacheco. So I do go there. And I'm going to let you go ahead and kick us off on this pick 2 because I know where you're going to go with the first one, and you've been on it a lot longer than I have. So I'll let you go ahead and take that away.
I'm not taking him as much as I love Tank Dell. I'm not starting him yet. I want to see him solidify himself in the lineup a little bit more. I actually am going to. Oh, this is so gross to say. I think I'm going to start Hollywood Brown just because I think they play from behind for so much of this game. I think Hollywood Brown actually sees more targets than he's going to all season tonight. So I think I'm going with Hollywood Brown. And Tennessee gets Cleveland. Give me Cortland Sutton because I think that game turns into a shootout. So I'm going to take Sutton and Hollywood actually here. Tank Dell, I absolutely want to get in, but I can't until I know he solidifies himself out there.
All right. Well, I gave you the opportunity to do it first, Brent. You punted on it. I'm taking Tank Dell and Cortland Sutton in this one. Again, there's so much passing volume in Houston right now. I don't trust Dameon Pierce. So give me the pass catchers. We've said it all show long. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Tank Dell, Cortland Sutton. Ryan says, big fan of the show, boys. You guys kick ass. Ryan, we appreciate you saying so. Thank you for tuning in and being here with us.
Thank you very much.
All right, Brent, here's a similar question to the one we just answered. Richard says, Tank Dell or DeAndre Hopkins. Do you take Dell over Hopkins, or are you still not starting Dell?
No, I'm going to take Dell over Hopkins. There's not enough pass catching options there. Cleveland's pass defense is pretty good. I think I actually do take Tank Dell in this one.
Okay, there you have it. Dave said Fields is a go this week. That's the most encouraging thing I've heard this year. Just because he's a go doesn't mean either of us are calling for your Bears to upset the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that's the furthest thing from happening. So, but yes, fantasy-wise, we do play him.
Yeah. The Bears will try to stick in that game, I think, maybe. For our fat friend's sake who's down in Kansas City, I really hope they at least try to stay in it.
All right, Brant, let's get one more before we go to our underdog picks of the week. Jeff says, is Kendre Miller worth a shot at flex and half-point PPR over Javonte Williams, Gabe Davis, or Cortland Sutton? What do you think about that one?
I think I'm starting Sutton out of all those. If you want a possible boom play that you're not sure what you're going to get out of, then yes, he's worth a shot. But safety-wise, I think I go with Sutton in this one.
Yeah, I'm going Cortland Sutton again. I just don't know what I have in Kendre Miller. So we're going to take one more week before we put anything there with him. So, all right, Brant, let's go ahead and get into our underdog plays of the week really quick. Then we'll come back and try to get some more of these questions before we run out of time and talk about that menu. But again, underdog partnership with Fantasy Holics, promo code Holics. Double your initial deposit up to $100. Again, it makes some of these games that aren't so appealing a little more appealing as the week goes on. Let's go ahead and jump into this, Brant. Maybe if the All right, Brant, go ahead and take us through your first underdog play of the week.
My first underdog play of the week is Zay Flowers higher than 50.5 receiving yards. I absolutely love Zay Flowers this week. I think he's the safety valve. I think you could see him turn a 50-yard reception in 1 or 2 catches. So give me Zay Flowers higher than 50.5 receiving yards.
Okay. You did say you were all in on Zay Flowers this week, Brant, putting your money where your mouth is as well. I've got Keenan Allen higher than 9 targets this week. Week 1 of the season, he had 9. This last week, he had way more. And if you go like week 13 on and from last season, this guy averaged 9 plus. So I look for that offense to flow through him kind of like they did last week again in a game where there's no defense.
Yep. Talk about no defense. That's going to take me straight into my second play of the week. There's no passing defense from Tennessee. Give me Amari Cooper higher than 57.5 receiving yards. The run game's going to take a little time to get going. And against that team, Tennessee really stands up the run. So they're going to have to move the ball. Give me a higher than 57.5 receiving yards.
All right, Brent, I've got Desmond Ridder higher than 190.5 passing yards. I know I said I don't necessarily trust him, but I do expect this offense to move through the pass catchers this week. That's Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. I think all 3 of those guys have a pretty nice day this week. Give me Desmond Ridder higher than 190.5 pass yards.
I'm going to go with something that we don't do very often, and I'm going to go with the lower here. I'm taking James Conner lower than 76.5 rushing plus receiving yards. James Conner is going to get stood up by that Dallas defense, and I do not expect him to even break 50. So 76.5 rushing and receiving yards. Give me the lower in that one.
All right. James Cook higher than 2.5 receptions this week. This is a guy that has been the focal point of that Buffalo Bills offense from the backfield. There's been nobody coming in sniffing targets or sniffing touches out of the backfield either. And he's been over 2.5 receptions both weeks so far this year. I take James Cook to go over that again this week.
I'm going to take Javonte Williams higher than 47.5 rushing yards. I've been saying it. I want to get him in lineups. I think this is the week that we see Williams really take over that Denver backfield. So I'm taking Javonte Williams against the sluggish rush defense of Miami to go higher than 47.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, so my last one, Brant, this is one that I talked about a little bit on the Fatboyz show this week. I've got Kylan Granson higher than 25.5 receiving yards. I liked what I saw out of him the first 2 weeks. He's tied in 8 in the season. He came out and did that baller photo shoot holding his first touchdown catch like a newborn baby. I like Kylan Granson again this week to go over 25.5 receiving yards. All right, let's get back into these questions real quick. And this is the perfect one for you and I, Brant. Jumbo says the wife is jacked up for an Usher halftime show, but I'm jacked up for the halftime menu. Top 3 Super Bowl snacks, Brant. I'll let you take it. Top 3, just hit them, and then I'll hit mine.
Is wings considered a snack? Because
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So wings. We love Mozzie sticks in this house. So almost every Sunday there's some cooked up. So wings, Mozzie sticks. I'm going to go with Old Faithful, some potato chips.
Okay. All right. I like that. I've got buffalo chicken dip, Brant. I'm also going to go with chicken wings. And I think pizza has to be on the menu someplace for it to be a good Super Bowl. I'm always going to have pizza. All right. Michael says flex PPR, Alexander Madison or Nico Collins. Thanks in advance. This is Nico Collins, Brant. He's in every lineup where I own him right now, not coming out anytime soon.
Yep, I'm in agreement.
Okay. Russell says Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams in PPR.
Miles Sanders is my mind.
Yeah, it's Miles Sanders. At the end of the day, I just think there's going to be too much volume for him. I'm not the guy for Javonte Williams. I just haven't been sold on him. His injury scares me. He's going to prove me wrong one of these weeks. I just don't know if it's this week. All right, Brent. What's on the menu this week? What are you munching on for this week's football contest?
Menu this week is prior to 3:00. We will have burgers, hot dogs, brats. We're going to the grill this week. We're going to fire it up. We're going to get some grill food out inside the house. We're going to do some onion rings, some fries. It's going to be a little grill out week for me and the fam this week.
Yeah, so we're also doing some burgers and some fries and such for the noon slate, and then we're doing grilled chicken shredded nachos this week. So I'm pretty excited about that for the dinner slate. This boy's going to gain some pounds this week. Hopefully the work uniform still fits going into next week, but we're going to put that to the test this week with today's menu, Brant. So we talked a little bit about the noon slate earlier, Brant. What's one game you're looking forward to in the afternoon slate?
Besides mine, I'm going to go with Chicago and Kansas City. I want to see if Chicago can get right. They put some blame out there on the coaches. They had a whole bunch of stuff going on in the front office, DC coordinator stepping down. I want to see what's going on in Chicago. Kansas City is getting Pacheco back. Travis Kelce's back, full health. Chris Jones has a game under his belt. So let's see how Kansas City really looks now that their whole team is back and starting to get back together.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the one that I'm going to have my eyes on. I want to see, who does Patrick Mahomes target? I want to see Rashee Rice. I think Rashee Rice is going to be really good in Kansas City the further we get into the season. And on the other side of the ball, I want to see what happens out of that Chicago backfield. Is it Roshan Johnson? Is it Khalil Herbert? We obviously know at this point it's not Deonta Foreman, but I really want to see what that coaching staff drums up to try to beat Kansas City this week, Brant. Definitely a game I'm looking forward to. And then Monday night's contests are pretty interesting too. I want to talk about those just real briefly. Philly at Tampa Bay and LA at Cincinnati. Which one of these games is going to grab your attention, Brant?
LA and Cincinnati. I want to see if the Rams are legit because I don't think they are. They took the world by shock, and now people are starting to see it. So I don't think they are. And I think Cincy needs to figure something out. If Burrow starts I don't know what his contract was, but the money he made, I don't see him starting 0-3. He's at home. Even if the backup comes in, I think Mixon and Chase and Higgins is still enough to really compete with that Rams defense. I expect this game to be a lot more of a shootout than what the total insists. So I'm really excited to see this game.
All right. We got a few minutes here, Brant. Go ahead and take us through some of your injuries that you want people to keep an eye on and be aware of for this week.
So you got Aaron Jones, who's questionable. Taylor was elevated from the practice squad, so definitely keep an eye on that one. Pivot would be Dylan if you have him. or Green, or if you have Kendre Miller, same time slate. It's a noon game, so you have a lot of pivots there. Waddle is officially out for Miami. Pacheco expects to play. We did talk about that one a little earlier. Kendre Miller is expected to be the starter in New Orleans. DeAndre Hopkins is expected to play in Tennessee, but like I said, that Cleveland's pass defense is something to keep an eye on. Gainwell is to play, which I assume he will get to start. Boston Scott is officially out. St. Brown and Metcalf, or St. Brown and Josh Reynolds, are both optimistic that they will play this week. So I think you have to start St. Brown if you have him. Josh Reynolds could be a good pivot play if for some reason St. Brown doesn't play. Eckler's out. We all heard that one a few days ago. Josh Kelly is the starter. Zay Jones is out. So I think that Christian Kirk could see a few more targets this week. I know he's coming off of a huge game last week, but I think the game script was written for him last week. I think that's still Calvin Ridley's team, receiving wise. Jacoby Myers will play this week. He's out of concussion protocol. He had a huge week 1. He's a guy to definitely keep an eye on. If he's on your waivers, maybe try to add him before the 12 o'clock slate, because if he turns into what he did week 1, this guy could be a league winner for a flex play. Monty is officially out. Kareem Hunt will make his Cleveland Browns re-debut tonight or today, so he will be playing. Akers is not playing. DK Metcalf is optimistic to play. Kadarius Toney is also going to be playing, and OBJ is officially ruled out too. I think that one came a few days ago. So those are just some names that aren't going to be on the field for you guys this week. So pivot from it if you're a Sunday player and you wait till Sunday to set your lineup. Make sure you get ready to pivot some of those guys.
All right, we got a couple questions that have streamed in here. Let's get through these, and then we'll tie a bow on today. Will Hahn says, Aaron Jones if he plays, or play Algier, Khalil Herbert, or Tony Jones, Brant. Any of those guys entice you more than Aaron Jones if he plays?
I'm playing Aaron Jones if he plays out of those. If not, then if he's out, I'm playing Algier, Herbert, and Jones. They're not going to sniff my lineup unless they absolutely have to, because I don't know what we have out of the New Orleans backfield. And I think Roschon Johnson's about to take over that Chicago backfield.
Yeah, it's Aaron Jones if he plays for me as well. And I actually go Khalil Herbert over Algier, I think, by the slightest of margins. Harry says PPR flex, Christian Kirk or Isaiah Pacheco. I do go Pacheco in this one, Brant.
Yeah, I go Pacheco as well. I expect a huge game out of him this week.
Sherman says Pacheco, Swift, Aaron Jones, or Gus Edwards. Pick 3 in standard scoring. Who's the odd man out for you out of these 4, Brant?
If Aaron Jones plays, I think Swift might actually be my odd man out on this. I was going to say Edwards, but there's nothing there that is really backing him up besides Melvin Gordon. If he doesn't play, then obviously Aaron Jones is my odd man out.
Gus Edwards doesn't come out of any lineups for me this week, especially in standard leagues. I don't see him as much of a PPR monster, but in a standard league, he should be a really good play. DeAndre Swift played too well last week, where for me to not expect him to get some run in Philly tomorrow night. So I do leave him in as well. And then I go Pacheco just because how good is Aaron Jones going to be coming off of a hamstring against that tough New Orleans run defense? I think I go Pacheco over him. It's odd to say that if Aaron Jones is healthy, he's the number 1 for me. Just because of the injury, I'm going to leave him out. Charlie says, how about Zay Flowers or Scary Terry, Brant? Is Zay your play of the week, or is Terry enough to entice you?
Nah, Zay's my play of the week. I absolutely love him, especially like I just said, OBJ being out. Zay Flowers, I absolutely love this week.
Yeah, I think I go with Zay Flowers as well. I just I like the run game too much in Washington for me to necessarily really put any stock into Sam Howell, and I do think that Washington and Riverboat Ron are going to try to keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands, so they're going to have to run the ball to do so. we'll try to answer any more of you guys' questions if they do sneak in. But if you miss us, don't hesitate to jump over onto the Fantasyholics Facebook page, and they do a start sit post every week. Throw your comment in there. Somebody will jump on there and give you some insight. Again, really intelligent guys over there picking or making those suggestions. So if you miss us, don't hesitate to jump over there and ask those guys some questions.
Absolutely, great guys on there. They're always ready to help and on top of that start and sit. You may get some doubled answers. That's just because we want to make sure you guys are getting the help that you need and getting all the questions answered. But as always, guys, stay hungry,
stay fat, my friends.